The New York Giants desperately need a get-right game, and soon. Can they find it this weekend against the Washington Commanders, a team against whom they've had steady success? We discuss that and more on this special crossover edition of Locked On Giants, Locked On Commanders, coming your way next.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode of Crossover Thursday is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special crossover edition, Locked On Giants, Locked On Commanders. My name is Patricia Traina. I am the host of Locked On Giants, and I am joined by David Harrison. He is the host of Locked On Commanders, and we're going to bring you everything you need to know about the Week 7 matchup. Washington Commanders visit the New York Giants 1 o'clock on Sunday at MetLife Stadium. And David, it's going to be a get-right type of game for the Giants, hopefully. And for Washington, they're going to just keep looking to build on, what they were able to bounce back from last week.
Yeah, I mean, bouncing back against the Atlanta Falcons Week 6 was absolutely critical after, starting off the season with 2 wins and then losing 2 games. You kind of expected a 2-2 start given the schedule. You got the Eagles and Bills after the Cardinals and Broncos, but really looking into the second quarter of the season with the Bears, the Falcons, the Giants, and the Eagles, you kind of look at that and you say, okay, this team is capable of going 3-1, but then they get blown out, embarrassed in their own, stadium on primetime football against the Chicago Bears. And after that, it was almost like the world was on fire if you were talking to Commanders media or fans, while the team is trying to hold everything together. So getting that win against the Atlanta Falcons, not a full 60 minutes of great football by any means necessarily, but you get the win and you do a lot of good things. So now this week you're looking to build on those good things and get even better against the New York Giants, which we know it's a twofer. A division matchup, that's a twofer. You get a chance to win and you get a chance to hand your division rival a loss. So this is a big game.
Yeah, big game for both sides. And we're going to bring you the storylines, the matchups, and predictions on today's show. So thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Or if you watch us on YouTube, your first watch of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And David, since the Commanders are the visiting team, let's start off with the key storylines going into this game.
Yeah, I think the biggest storyline for me coming into this game, you could go with the defense and some of the struggles they've had, and are they going to be good? But I'm really looking at the continued development of Sam Howell, because I've been mostly happy with what we've seen out of Sam Howell's young quarterback. He's had the most passing yards of any quarterback in his first 7 starts in Washington history. That's a stat that the Commanders PR media, they shared with us last week during that game, and that's incredibly impressive. There's been a lot of really good quarterbacks that come through this franchise, so the fact that he's kind of on that production pace already is really cool. But then you also look at he's taking a lot of sacks, and some of those are his fault, some of those are not his fault. But with the ones that he's taking, the ones that you do say are his fault, you go back and you watch the film, and there are routes that are available in a lot of those passes, or a lot of those pass attempts that he ends up getting sacked on. So the more reps he gets, the more he gets to know how defenses are going to play him, the more he gets used to how defenses are going to play his receivers, the better he's going to be able to start reading his plays. Because while every play, and Patricia, like every play has like a primary receiver to start, but when a quarterback comes to the line, they look at the defensive alignment, what the shifts are showing, and they might shift and say, you know what, maybe my number 1 is Terry, but because of what the defense is showing me, my 1's actually going to be Jahan. The smarter he gets with that kind of stuff, I think the more these sacks are going to start going away, and the better he's going to be he's going to get. I've gone as bold as to say he might be close to being the second best quarterback in the NFC East, and I know that's going to ruffle a good amount of feathers, but when you look at the numbers, he's completed more passes than any NFC East quarterback, which is a volume stat, right? That's not necessarily, a sign of production, but he's also got more catchable balls this year than any other quarterback in the NFC East. And he's got 1 more pass than Jalen Hurts to lead the division, right? But he's got 4 more catchable balls. And that's not a wide margin, but you're talking about Jalen Hurts, a guy who just took his team to the Super Bowl. So that's a pretty impressive thing for a second-year quarterback to do. And again, that's according to Sports Info Solutions. And there's a lot more, like, he and Jalen Hurts are the only quarterbacks in this division that have over 650 air yards completed. And both of them have over 850. Like, he's keeping pace with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. Leads the division in touchdowns, but he's not leading the division in interceptions. And even while he's trailing Jalen Hurts by 1, Eagles fans would say, yeah, but he had 1 really bad game. Well, Sam Howell had 4 against the Buffalo Bills. So if you take both quarterbacks' bad games away, Sam Howell actually has less interceptions than a guy like Jalen Hurts. Dak Prescott's kind of in the middle of the field. Daniel Jones, meanwhile, has the exact same amount of interceptions while playing 1 fewer game. So, again, I think he's close to being the second best. I'm not saying he's the second best, but if that timing gets better and that IQ starts to shine through a little bit better, I think he literally has the potential by the end of this season to be the second best quarterback in the division.
And meanwhile, speaking of Daniel Jones, one of the storylines is he going to play this weekend? Daniel Jones dealing with the neck injury that he suffered 2 weeks ago against the Miami Dolphins. Now, last week, Daniel did not practice at all. He wasn't cleared. Today, Wednesday, he was able to go out and throw. He actually revealed that he's been throwing all along, but he didn't practice. He didn't do any of the team drills. He basically worked on the side there, very limited. He was listed as limited on the injury report. I'm not so sure he plays this weekend. I think it'll be Tyrod Taylor who gets to start again. And what's interesting is that the offense didn't look that bad under Tyrod Taylor. They were able to move the ball. Now, yes, they had the 2 brain blips, if you will, especially the one at the end of the first half against the Bills, in which Taylor audible out of a pass play and went with a run play, which didn't get into the end zone. Would have been the Giants' first touchdown of the first half of any game this season. So that was a big blip. But, the Giants last week showing a little bit more bite, a little bit more fight to themselves. They kept it close with the Bills. We thought they were going to get blown out, and they didn't. So that's, I know there's no medals for trying, but that's certainly, I think a positive that the Giants can build on. See, this is how low this team has actually sunk, that we're taking almost as a positive. So, Daniel Jones, again, I don't think he's going to play. And then what offensive line combination will this team put on the field? This is going to be the 7th different starting offensive line combination. All right. 7 games, 7 different starting offensive line combinations because of injury. The Giants adding Justin Pugh now to the 53-man roster. He was a standard practice squad elevation last week. The feeling is he's going to start at left tackle because Joshua Zudu, who had been filling in for Andrew Thomas at left tackle, is now on IR. And then you've got left guard. Who's going to plug in there? Is it going to be Tyree Phillips or is it going to be somebody else? Center, you've got Brent Bredesen in there in place of John Michael Schmitz, who's dealing with a shoulder injury. The right guard would probably be Mark Lewinsky. And then Evan Neal, who was on the injury report today, did not practice because of an ankle issue. Is he going to play? So a lot of uncertainty regarding the guys up front. And as you know, David, that's where it all starts, is up front. And without that offensive line settled, it'll be very interesting to see how the Giants plan to attack a very, very good Washington defensive front.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Health is absolutely paramount. And when you got these offensive struggles, like you were kind of just diagramming there, I'm gonna touch on some more of those here later in the episode as well. Having a lack of consistency on top of that struggle, is kind of a big deal. But like you mentioned in the opening, like this Commanders team, the Commanders defense specifically really has been a get-right opponent for a good amount of teams so far this season. So there's no reason that Giants fans and the Giants themselves shouldn't be coming in saying, hey, maybe we can be the next get-right team.
Yeah, and the Giants have had some success against the Commanders. They have been able to, I think they've only lost 2 of their last 8, and then, of course, they had the 1 tie. So they have had some success against the Commanders. So is this going to be a get-right game for the Giants? I asked Darren Waller today, I said, how close do you think this offense is to getting right? And he said, look, it's about execution. It's about not making mistakes. We feel we're getting close, but we just need to be cleaner with our execution. So if they can do that, maybe they make a game of this. But again, it's going to be a tough matchup, the Giants offense against the Washington defense. And speaking of matchups, we're going to talk about those coming up right after this. Hey, football fans, if you're looking for the most comfortable pair of pants or shorts you'll ever wear, then you got to check out Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs are not only comfortable, but they'll make you look good too. Their stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. And unlike other shorts and pants, Bird Dogs aren't made of that stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs are made with a cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. And best of all, Bird Dogs uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. My husband absolutely loves his Bird Dogs. He wears it around the house, around the yard when he's doing yard work or running errands, and they have become his favorite go-to apparel whenever he's doing something. And if he likes them, I know you will as well. And right now, Bird Dogs will send you a free water bottle with your order. Simply go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL or enter promo code LockedOnNFL to get your free gift with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL or use promo code LockedOnNFL at checkout for your free water bottle. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. All right, everybody, welcome back to a special crossover edition, Locked On Giants, Locked On Commanders. I'm Patricia Traina, host of Locked On Giants. He is David Harrison, host of Locked On Commanders. And David, it's time to talk about matchups. What matchups in this game will have you most intrigued?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about, can the Giants be the next team to have a get-right experience against the Washington Commanders? And so far this season, surprisingly enough, it's been the Washington Commanders defense giving up those get-right opportunities for some struggling offenses. So the New York Giants offense is trying to be the next one. So that's my matchup. It's the entire Washington defense against the Giants offense. And that really is kind of just the bottom line of this game. Stat scouting is usually very dangerous. We know that. And I'm sure you tell your audience that. I tell my audience that stat scouting can be very dangerous, but the Giants offense, 32nd in yards per play, 24th in yards per rush, 30th in yards per pass, 10th highest rate when it comes to being intercepted. They're giving up the most sacks per pass attempt in the league. One of 6 teams getting 17 or fewer first downs per game. Their third down conversion rate is middle of the pack. Red zone offense is terrible. Goal to go is 50% when the middle of the league is around 75%. And they're the only team scoring less than 12 points per game on offense. So when you have all those stats, that stat scouting still paints a very bleak picture. So this Washington Commanders defense, this is a matchup where you can't come out and do what you did against the Chicago Bears. You can't do what you did against the Atlanta Falcons. I'll get into that here in just a minute either. This is a game where, you got a coaching staff that's very much on a bubble, whether it's because of their past records or because of the new ownership situation. You got a young quarterback that, he comes out against the Eagles and the offense is putting up points from the jump. Against the Denver Broncos, they're not putting up points until later in the game. The Atlanta Falcons, they come out putting up points quick. Like, it's kind of hot and cold week in, week out. This defense was expected to lead this team. We even talked to many of the defensive leaders on this roster about being the leaders of the team, and they all talked about embracing that leadership role and understanding that a lot of the team's success this season was going to ride on their shoulders. But 4 straight games this year giving up 30 points, and that's not a current streak, but during the season, 4 straight games giving up 30 points on the defensive side of things. This is not the defense we expected. So this is a huge opportunity for this defense to stand up and not allow the Giants to have a get-right game and show that they're better, because they are better, honestly, than what they produced. But you got to produce it. You can be great all you want, but if you're not putting the production on the field, it doesn't matter.
All right. And for me, there's actually a couple of matchups that I'm very intrigued to see. And one of it is individual matchup. One of it's more of a group matchup. I'll start with the individual matchup. Good friend Nick Gates. He's making his return to MetLife Stadium. We miss him so much. He was a big topic of conversation today in the locker room. But Nick Gates is expected to go up against Dexter Lawrence, a.k.a. Sexy Dexy. And that should be a nice little matchup because, Nick Gates, he is, and you've gotten to know Nick. He is a pit bull in the pit there. I mean, he's not taking any stuff from anybody. The Giants, I mentioned that matchup because the Giants, prior to last week against the Bills, I didn't think their defense showed a lot of fight, a lot of bite. They just seemed very passive. Now, last week against the Bills, they finally stood up and they started pushing, guys around and not taking any snuff and whatnot. So I can just see it now that there will be some kind of fight involving Nick Gates and a member of the Giants, possibly Dexter Lawrence. Who knows? Maybe Leonard Williams, but I can see something breaking out with Nick Gates there because that's just how he is. He's going to fight for his teammates. And if you're expecting him to have any kind of sentimental feelings towards the Giants, nah, that's not going to be Nick at all.
No,
That's not how he
no.
rolls. I mean, maybe afterwards, if when hopefully I get to visit with him, maybe there'll be that, that hey, how you doing moment. But yeah, on the field, not at all. The other matchup I want to mention from a Giants perspective is going to be the Giants pass rush against Sam Howell. Now, the Giants, interestingly enough, have reduced the amount of times they have blitzed quarterbacks the last 2 weeks. And that's because obviously they're trying to protect that their defensive secondary. They're also trying to do a better job of plugging in the run. So they're not, being as reckless, if you will. But according to Sports Information Solutions, week 5, the Giants only blitzed 9% of the time on 3 plays. And last week against the Bills, they blitzed, I think it was, 38% of the time. Yeah, I think it was I'm sorry, 28.1% of the time, which is under the 30 plus that Wink Martindale has been blitzing. So the Giants have been sending a 4-man rush primarily at the quarterback, trying to move them off his spot and forcing completions and whatnot. And you know what? It's been working. So I'm curious to see if they continue to deploy that. I think they will, because again, it does protect the back end of the defense, that young secondary that the Giants have. And also, if you can get home with 4, why wouldn't you do it? Why have to put an extra guy out on the pass rush that takes away from the coverage that you're going to play? So I'm curious to see how that plays out if Wink Martindale continues to dial it back some against Sam Howell, who's a young quarterback, prone to make mistakes, can be rattled. Can they get home and rattle him, which is the 4-man rush?
Yeah. No, that's an approach, honestly, we've seen a lot of defense take against Sam Howell. And it's interesting because he's got the IQ and ability, and he's got the weapons to pick you apart. You know what I mean? If you allow him to have that time. But at the same time, when you look at, probably his biggest deficiency is holding the ball too long. So, if you have only 4 rushers and you flood the coverage and you don't give him a lot of windows, then that's where he could potentially hold the ball too long. We're all just kind of waiting for that light bulb moment where, his IQ catches up with his internal clock. And I think that's when you really kind of see the potential of Sam Howell kind of take off. But whether that's going to happen this weekend at MetLife is, that's the question that we're all going to have to find out. But a lot of coaches like to blitz young quarterbacks to try to put pressure on them. But it's definitely been more of a trend of teams not blitzing him and trying to clog as many passing lanes as possible in the coverage versus in the pass rush. So that's certainly going to be important. Nick Gates. I would be lying if I didn't tell you that we've talked about his return to MetLife several times this season before this matchup was the next matchup on the schedule. Like, that's definitely a game that he's looking forward to. And yeah, he's not coming in giving anybody any discounts on the field by any means. My most important player in this game and specific player matchup, Patricia, is Commander safety Percy Butler against essentially whoever's running the deepest route on the field, right? Last week, getting his first start of the season, replacing injured starter Derek Forrest, he played 100% of the defensive snaps, and he ended up with a 48.1 coverage grade from Pro Football Focus, which is terrible. It's a very terrible coverage grade. And if you saw the highlights and you saw the stats from their win over the Falcons, you might say, man, like, how did a DB on a defense that's had 3 interceptions against Desmond Ridder and all this other stuff have such a terrible grade? And it's because what I like about PFF's grading, there's some flaws, sure, but what I do like about them is they don't grade the result, they grade the execution. And when you're a single high safety, like Percy Butler is a lot of times in the Commanders defense, and you allow the deepest receiver to get behind you, just because the quarterback overthrew that receiver doesn't get you off the hook as far as their grade is concerned. So that's how he ends up with that lowest grade. The New York Giants, whether it's Daniel Jones, whether it's Tyrod Taylor, we've seen Daniel Jones, do damage against the Commanders defense. If Percy Butler, he's a young player, second-year safety, super, a lot of potential. So you want to give him a little bit of a break. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be out there for 100% of the snaps, you have to be able to execute. And when you're that single high guy, the operative word is high, right? You've got to be deeper than their deepest receiver, because Daniel Jones can hit that guy. Tyrod Taylor can hit that guy. This isn't Desmond Ridder out there this weekend. So if the Commanders defense, whether it's Percy, who it will be mostly, or Cam Curl or another safety, getting that single high coverage or getting that deepest safety responsibility, you've got to do it, and you've got to make the Giants consistently sustain drives and don't let them have those explosive plays.
And speaking of which, the Giants kind of scaled back a little bit on their receiver deployment. You know, in the beginning of the year, they would target 5, 6 receivers. You know, everybody who was active got targets. But of late, the Giants have kind of scaled it back a little bit. Darius Slayton, who has deep speed, he's one of the targets. Jalen Hyatt, the rookie, definitely one of the targets. You know, he's a guy who's seen his role increase. And Wan'Dale Robinson, who can pick up yards after the catch. So the Giants going with youth, they're going with speed, and they're going to put some tests. They're going to test that Washington defensive secondary to see if maybe they can slip behind them and get some chunk plays, something that they have struggled to do. And again, it all comes back to the offensive line. Can that offensive line hold up for the Giants? That's the biggest question mark going into this game. All right, coming up next, folks, we're going to wrap things up with some predictions and final thoughts, so please don't go anywhere. Hey, football fans, snap into NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. The New York Giants this weekend are looking to go 2 weeks in a row in which they upset the point spread against them. And according to our friends at FanDuel, they have the Giants as a 2-point underdog at home, a spread they should be able to beat against a Washington team against whom they've had success over the years. Besides football, you can bet on basketball, hockey, baseball, any sport or any athlete you desire. And now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get started. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Hey, football fans, you never know when the unexpected is going to pop up, causing you or a loved one to fall ill. Case in point, back in 2011, when I was covering the Giants Super Bowl, I was coming off my cancer treatments, and I came down with a nasty virus that sent my temperature soaring to over 100 degrees. With no immediate access to a pharmacy and really not willing to go to a hospital's ER, I really wish at the time I had had a fully stocked Jase case. The Jase case is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections, because you never know when the unexpected is going to happen, that prevents you from getting the treatment you need. And did you know that you can also customize your Jase case by adding other life-saving medications based on your unique needs? Jase is continually working to expand their medication offerings, having recently added ivermectin as an option. And now you can make sure your loved ones are always prepared in the event of an emergency by purchasing a gift card for them to use on their very own Jase case. To get started, head to jasemedical.com, complete a simple online form, and in some cases, you might need to jump on a call with one of Jase's board-certified physicians to make sure that you're getting what you need. Once you're approved, you'll then get prescriptions and life-saving medications delivered straight to your door. And now you can save $20 on your Jase case by using the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout at Jase Medical. That's JASE medical.com. Again, save $20 off your Jase case with the promo code LOCKEDON at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. All right, everybody, welcome back to the crossover edition of Locked On Giants, Locked On Commanders. You've got me, Patricia Traina, host of Locked On Giants, with David Harrison, host of Locked On Commanders. And David, it's prediction time. Who you liking in this game and why?
I like the Commanders in this one. You know, I said it last year. I like the Commanders in both the Giants games. Obviously, they came out 0-1-1. And we've already talked about it in this episode. It doesn't matter how much talent you have. It doesn't matter how great you are. All that matters is what you put on the field any given Sunday, right? And the Giants have absolutely played this team. I mean, not just played them tough, like they beat them time and time again, or even, you know, even when you look at the Commanders, say maybe they should have won that game, they at least pull out a tie. So, I mean, it's a difficult matchup. You never expect, I don't think either side you know, even with the amount of success the Giants have had against this team, I don't think either side really comes in saying, oh, they're going to win by 17. You know what I mean? It's going to be an easy Sunday afternoon. No, this is going to be a fight. It's going to be, you know, aggressive. Like, if anybody thinks the Giants are down on themselves in a ho-hum, like, they're going to stand up against the Washington Commanders and give them their best shot. So I think, you know, an early score prediction, I think you're probably looking at like 23-17. And even that feels like a stretch. Like, maybe I think 23-20 is probably more accurate. But I do think that the Washington Commanders, again, if we continue to see the development of Sam Howell as a decision maker, and if this defense doesn't allow the Giants to undo a lot of the bad mojo that they put on the field so far, then they should be able to come out with this win. Last stat, though, Patricia, that I want to throw out here, and this is actually on the other side of the ball than what I've been talking about for the most part. The Washington Commanders, this is the third straight week that they'll be facing the worst sack team in the NFL. So when they played the Chicago Bears, the Bears were 32nd in the NFL in sacks per pass attempt from their defense. The Bears came out of that hole because of what they did against the Commanders sack-wise. Then it was the Falcons who were 32nd. They're now out of that hole, and now the Giants are 32nd. So the Giants are looking to be the third straight team to be 32nd in the league getting sacks against opposing quarterbacks to come out of that hole, because we talked about that get-right situation. So, again, that to me is a big part of this game. If Sam Howell can prevent the Giants from becoming that next team to do that, and, of course, obviously the offensive line, Nick Gates, they've got something to say about that, then I think the Commanders can come away with a 3 to 6 point win. But I don't think it's a full touchdown either way, no matter who takes this one.
All right. I am going to go with the Giants on this one. I know, shocking, right? Because I said I wouldn't pick the Giants until they gave me a reason to do so. The reason why I'm going to go with the Giants is, even though they came up short against the Bills, I saw a lot of fight in them. I saw a lot that, you know, you take away the mistakes at the end of each half, and maybe it's a totally different game. But I think that game, you know, even though they lost, and there's no medals for trying, as Bill Parcells always used to like to say, I think that game might have instilled a little bit more confidence, because Buffalo was a quality opponent. And, you know, Washington is no slouch either. You know, let's not sell them short. So I just feel like, you know, and especially from roaming around the locker room today and talking to various players, I get the impression that there's a lot more confidence than maybe there was in recent weeks. And I think they're maybe going to put that confidence to work for them on the field. Now, again, I still have concerns about the offensive line. I don't know, you know, for sure if it's going to be Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor. But that being said, I feel pretty good about the direction the defense is headed. And I think the Giants are going to pull this one out. I think it's going to be, like you said, less than a touchdown. I'm going to go Giants 23, Commanders 17.
Yeah, so I mean, very similar, you know what I mean? And it's probably going to be like a turnover somewhere, you know what I mean? Like or a punt return or a muff punt or something that really kind of turns the tide on this one. That's kind of how these divisional matchups go, but it should be entertaining nonetheless. And I'm looking forward to getting to see you again out there in the press box in MetLife. I've actually got some food spots recommendations from Nick. So I'm making the crazy journey, Patricia. I'm driving up the morning of the game. I'm going to cover the game, obviously, do my show, and then I'm going to drive home after the game. I'm not staying, but Nick has hooked me up with a good food spot recommendation to give me a good to-go plate that I can eat while I'm driving safely, and give me something to kind of occupy my time for the drive home. So looking forward to it. And yeah, I think if you have an over-under wager out there of like Nick Gates 0.5 personal foul penalties in this game, I think you take the over, because he's going to be fired up. He is going to be fired up.
I'm going to have to send him a text to say hello. Make sure that I get that in there.
Oh, he adores you. He would love to hear from you.
Oh,
absolutely.
I adore him too. I miss him so much. But all right, everybody, that's going to do it for this special edition of Crossover Thursday, Locked On Giants, Locked On Commanders. You don't forget to check us out, our individual shows on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, I'm Patricia Traina of Locked On Giants. He is David Harrison of Locked On Commanders. We come to you every day, Monday through Friday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. So please check us out, as well as our other Locked On programs that we have. For David Harrison, I'm Patricia Traina. We will see you tomorrow on our respective shows. Have a great one, everybody.